You bet.
Okay, we're now streaming.
Mine doesn't say quite 6 yet.
Mine. Now it does.
Okay, I'll call the Personnel Committee meeting to order.
And I'll call the Finance Committee meeting to order.
We have the roll call or the.
Personnel Committee, Kuhn, Fuzar, Olson.
Here.
Present.
All here.
And Finance Committee, Heniro, Ramsey, Kuhn, and Olson all present.
Thank you.
Next item, approval of minutes for December 6, 2022, Personnel and Finance Committee meeting jointly. I'll make the motion for the Personnel Committee to approve them with the slight change to the personnel accepted the minutes for the June 7th meeting. It was Kuhn who made the motion, seconded by Olson, and then correct the spelling of Kuhn in the adjournment.
This is Bizarre. I'll second that motion for personnel.
And I'll make the motion for Finance Committee to accept the minutes with the changes mentioned.
And this is Alder Kuhn. I'll second that.
All in favor for personnel?
Aye.
All in favor for Finance?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the ayes have it.
Moving to resolution 2022. oh, forgot the wrong. 2023-13, authorizing the use of general contingency for the 2023 seasonal wages at the Middleton Aquatic Center. Okay.
Yeah, I can start the discussion just briefly on this item. There are two items related to the aquatic center wages. This item, the resolution, would provide the budgetary authority for the requested increase. And then the item under miscellaneous number 1 is specifically approving the requested increase, which is to various lifeguard and other seasonal wages at the aquatic center. And Kylie, can you make sure that's on?
Okay, thank you. All right, so as noted in the resolution and the memo, I'm looking at raising wages to a competitive wage. Taking a look at the Middleton lifeguard wages, they start at 15, and then also are the indoor Middleton wages for lifeguards are at 15, and then the seasonal pools around the entire county, Dane County. I'm a part of an aquatic section, our regional group in this area, and we all share data, and in that data we are not competitive to that starting wage. And so that was noted. Just other jobs such as Target or Colors and starting wages that are also competitive to seasonal jobs. So that's something that we need to take a look at because when we did our return survey to all the lifeguards in 2022, 6 of them are returning at this point. We have 1 application right now for a lifeguard, and we do have 10 to 15 that are looking, are made a note in all of those survey results that they'd like to see wage increases, and they would be considering returning if so. And then, but otherwise they're looking for other jobs. And just not based off of running an aquatics facility in my previous role and being very networked in the state of Wisconsin, I know that lifeguards, this is a very big concern for all outdoor aquatics facilities. So this is why I'm bringing the request right now. I wish that it was done a part of the 2023 budget season, and at least that request was made at that time, but I'm coming back to you at the meeting tonight to have this discussion, as I think it's very important for operations for the upcoming season. I don't want to be coming back to or having it come back to you guys that we're not able to open the slides or able to open the diving well, or there's just different parts of the pool that we're having to close due to having staffing constrictions with the staffing levels. So that's why it's coming forward. I know on the other end, then it comes to budgeting and revenue and just that whole piece, maybe a question of of everybody here tonight. So just taking a look at this season, the immediate future, I really think it's imperative that we do raise the wages, but planning into the future, how are we going to do that with helping with revenue? I think that there's a lot of creative ways that we can take a look at increasing the revenue for the facility, and then also trying to navigate those wages to make them very, very efficient. So I'm already building that out, and hopefully with the new assistant director and all the knowledge that they have, we can work together to make a good plan to execute in 2024 for budget. So
Thank you.
Okay, one question I wanted to ask you, and I did ask you actually, it's like the cost of the passes. And with the group that you belong to from Dane County, I know every pool has different features, and then you can set your pass rates on some of the features that they have that people are more apt to go to. Ours is an older pool. I would expect there wouldn't be quite as up to, some of the higher costs of passes. But you share how much you charge people to use the pools in that group?
Yep. So all of the wages are on a spreadsheet. Then we have all of the pool rental rates, all the daily admission and pass rates on there. So we can compare and then create an average across Dane County. So we have taken a look at that, and I have added are very comparable to Sun Prairie. I think our facility is in this area. So that's something that I look at how they're charging.
Where do we fall in that range for cost of passes?
They're a little bit, they're actually higher than a few other areas around here. So I just got
$5 a day is a little higher.
Oh, for daily admission?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, that's one thing I think of. I know you do have like family passes for and seasonal passes. I think, was it 60 or 65 or?
Yeah, so our daily admission right now is straight across the board at $5 per person. So I did create a fee schedule for 2023, just evaluating all of our fees in 2021, 2022, and then projecting new fees for 2023. And that was based off of all that data. So I do want to come in and increase some of those fees, but I'm not looking at increasing fees until I know that I have that staff there,
right,
and can promise the facility open swim hours and all of that. So I really wanted to make sure we're taking a look at wages before we start increasing fees. And
when you talk to lifeguards, do they look at a guaranteed number of hours a week that they have, or is that like if you have to close the pools, early and stuff? Is that what? Because they want to be able to know that they have a certain what their summer wages are going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, so we do communicate with them on a regular basis starting right now, and with availability, I know that's a really big thing, and it's changed from when I started pool operations till now. And it's more, they really, really enjoy having a guarantee that they get off on the days that they request off.
Right.
And so we actually last summer when I operated the pool, I made sure that every single day that they requested off, they had off. And so the time that we spend on scheduling drastically increases on that front, but it's a part of the retention as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Alder Kuhn, you had a question?
Thank you. So I see that the current wage is $12 and we're looking to go to 15. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then how many lifeguards do you need in a pool to open up comfortably? I know you said you had 6 who said yes so far, and 10 to 15 or maybe. Do you need about 12 or 15?
Oh, no, we would need, I'm looking between 30 to 35 lifeguards
Okay.
to staff because of the availability and demands. Typically, like probably 3 or 4 years ago, prior to COVID, I would say 20 lifeguards, because they really like to fulfill 40 hours and work a very a heavier load. And so now we are actually hiring more, which creates a larger expense with training. But that's kind of what we need at this facility, because we do have to have so many of how it's set up with the diving well off to the side and the slides and all of those features. You have to have a quite a few more.
Thank you.
Kylie, sorry, question. How many lifeguards do you need on staff to open the pool during a normal day of operations?
No, that's a good question too. I have to look at the staffing plans for the facility yet. I would assume that anywhere around 10 for open swim for because you have to have rotational or break guards, and then on top of water slide, I would say anywhere from 7 to 10 range. So yeah.
Kylie, I totally understand the need to increase the wages. I mean, that's just common nowadays. So I can support the amount. I'm wondering why rely on general contingency for this when later today we're going to be talking about the ARPA carryover, and it looks like our carryover is going to be increasing to 56,000 or our unallocated will increase to 56,474, plenty to cover the 14K that you'll need. I feel a little more comfortable if we're able to take it from ARPA, recognizing it's an operational expense and we need to build this into the budget in the future. But if we have the funds now, why would we not choose to use that instead of our contingency?
Another way to look at it for sure. I'm open to looking at ARPA funds. I don't know if Bill has anything to add about ARPA funds, but we had discussed contingency.
Yeah, and I think because at this point, we're just bringing the ARPA information with the updated 2022 expenditures and carryover requests to this meeting. That wasn't something that we had available information when we started discussing wage adjustments. I think really the council could go either option. If there are excess ARPA funds, could apply that or apply the personnel contingency. Either way, it's a one-time source of funds, and this is something that would need to be included in future budgets as part of future revenue and expenditure budgets for the aquatic center. And just wanted to point out that for the 25,000 that is being recommended to come from the aquatic center budget, that is made possible because of the ARPA funds that have already been approved for the pool for capital maintenance and repair items. So that would be, I think, an option to either use personnel contingency or additional ARPA for that remaining 14,000.
Lisa, I'd like just comment. I think that's a great idea because the pool was hit so very hard during the COVID, and which we tried to find all kinds of ways to get it so that they could get a few people going through the door there. I think ARPA funds would be a really good way to do this.
How do other members feel?
I'm open.
Yeah, it was a good way to go. Bill, why, just briefly, I don't have any issue with raising the wages. I do struggle a little bit with the fact that this is coming to us in February when we probably should have discussed it. You're brand new. Understand you're brand new. So it's not a shot, but Bill, we've talked to Matt before, and I'm wondering why we waited to this point and we got out of the budget cycle.
Yeah, it was not something that was requested by the department for the 2023 budget. They did look at seasonal wages for the 2022 budget, and during the budget time did not request that increase. I agree. It's something that ideally we should have looked at as part of the budget request, but I can't answer why that was not requested.
So moving forward, these are the kind of things that we need to put through the budget process.
Yeah, agreed.
I have one question about, you talked about hiring 30 lifeguards, and we don't know for sure the number it takes per day, but do you have any fear of hiring 30 and then having people not be able to get the hours? Or are there so many people that only want to work one shift every however many? It just seems like a lot when 2 years ago or a year ago you could get by with 20.
Yes, so I looked in 2019 and they had 22 lifeguards. And then last year they had 30 lifeguards or so. I have it in here, but then they taking a look at their availability and how people want to work. That's part of the interview process. So we definitely want to hire everybody that has open availability, but with lifeguards there, they have to have that certification, and there's not that many that have a lifeguard certification. So it's based heavily around their availability that they have. And I would lean towards hiring less because that expense of training is higher, as I noted, but that's just something that we try to weigh in on as we're taking in applications, and we do have availability a part of their application process, so we can identify that right away. But honestly, anybody that has a lifeguard certification and that is applying for the position, upon review of it, we like to add on to our team. So.
Alder Ramsey, kind of a response to that, having been a parent of teenage lifeguards myself, and having watched the difficulty of the library to keep consistent staffing with high school students in their library page positions. The more lifeguards that she has in her stable to be able to consistently staff, the better. I have never seen high school students fighting for 40 hours. Typically they're fighting for time off.
And that last year with the number of lifeguards that they had, they struggled to cover all the hours. That's why they closed so early in August. And that's really where we start to get into a pickle, is the end of summer when people start going back to their sports. And so they might say, oh yeah, I want to work all these hours. And then it comes to something more important to them. And we are looking at how can we keep the facility open as long as possible into the end of the season in August. And I've never had, we typically try to get a good amount of hours that wants it, but with having to staff all of our open swim from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Sunday, we have 8 swim meets. We have morning swim lessons teaching. We have night swim lessons, all the programs. If we want to add programming into that to generate more revenue and events, then we need to take a look at having that number of staffing level.
Sure. And I don't have any problem with that. I was just questioning whether or not people would have an opportunity to get hours. So if that's what you need,
Yeah.
you're the expert in what you need for lifeguards. I just want to make sure that people, if they do want to work, have an opportunity, and we don't have that 17th person or 31st person that we hired that, doesn't get to work, and we've paid to train them. And so that was my only concern.
For sure.
Kyle, I have a question on the classes that they offer there. They got a diving class, lifeguarding classes, and group lesson classes. And you have on here that the lifeguard class is 225 is what you're proposing for 2023. This is just a sheet that is that something you waive if they decide to join the team?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yep, that's
good.
something.
I was just wondering, we got to have some incentives to get them to take the class and to join the team. So.
Yeah, we're looking at just different hiring incentives right now. I haven't pushed everything out because I'm waiting for tonight to make sure we don't double communicate. And there's 2 different wages out there on a lot of our social media and that push. But we are looking at, this is something I've done in a lot of previous years, especially after COVID closing the pool down, that we offered a free lifeguarding class contingent upon working for our facility, and we were able to get a great amount of staffing from offering that class. And just, you gotta be 16 and want to work at the pool, so, and pass the class.
It's a good carryover for the winter too. When they go to the indoor pool, they always need more lifeguards there too. So they don't have to
it could be a
cut
good
hours, so
partnership.
figured. Well, does anyone we've talked about this, does anyone want to make a motion for personnel?
Well, I have a
Oh, I'm sorry.
question. Yeah, I just have a couple questions for Bill and Brian. So it looks like there are 4 places in resolution 2023-13 that reference general contingency that would need to change to reference the unallocated ARPA funds, or just generically the city's ARPA funds. We also will need to I'm wondering if we need to vote on this now, or can we get an updated resolution to show at the council meeting? This item comes after Resolution 2023-12, which authorizes the reappropriation of the 2022 carryover money for ARPA. I'm just trying to make sure we do this in order and not have to backtrack. So it seems to me we need to get the updated language for council members to see. We need to approve the carryover and possibly increase it by 14,262.
Yeah, I think you could do that. I think if you wanted to, you could make a motion for that recommendation contingent upon approval of the ARPA carryovers at council. And then we can work to update a final resolution for signing based on the intent from these committees as well as the council.
Okay, would someone like to make that motion then?
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make the motion.
So the motion, just to be clear,
Oh, yes, for finance. Thank you.
she can do it for both,
Okay, for both.
That's great.
Thank you.
Love that.
but we need to know specifically what the motion is. Bill, would you like to articulate?
Yeah, I believe the motion, and correct me if I'm wrong, would be to recommend approval of the resolution with the change from the use of general contingency to the use of unallocated ARPA funds contingent upon council approval of the ARPA carryovers resolution this evening.
Thank you.
Perfect. I'll second for finance.
I'll second for personnel.
All in favor for personnel? Aye.
Aye.
All in favor for finance?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the ayes have it.
Thank you, Kylie. Convene into closed session.
Before you do that, so that was the item for the resolution. There is
Oh.
item number 1 under miscellaneous, which is
Okay.
actually to approve the change in the wage schedule.
Change the Park and Recreation Aquatic Center seasonal wage step wages. Do I have a motion from personnel?
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion for both personnel and finance.
I
I'll
will,
second for finance.
I will second for personnel.
All in favor for personnel? Aye.
Aye.
all in favor for finance?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the ayes have it.
Okay, convene into closed session. Do we have a motion
This is
personnel?
Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion
for both?
for both.
For both?
I will
Yes.
second
Thank
for
you.
personnel.
And I'll second for finance.
All in favor for personnel?
Aye.
Aye.
All those in favor for finance?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Okay, we'll just need a moment.
He's gonna go behind the curtain and flip the switches and pull the cords and.
Okay, we are streaming and back live.
Okay, so we're back in open session. Can I get a motion for finance?
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion.
Okay, and the motion is, just to repeat, it's to approve the labor agreement between the city of Middleton and firefighters local 311 for the period January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2025. The language date as dated on February 17th, pending approval or pending Attorney Morgan's review. And the approval is to send this back for ratification by local 311, correct?
Yes.
I will second that motion for finance.
I'll make a personnel and say ditto to the motion made in finance.
And this is Alder Kuhn. I'll second.
Okay, further discussion for personnel? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Opposed?
discussion for finance? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. The ayes have it.
Okay, for personnel, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And this is Alder Kuhn. I'll second it.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Personnel is adjourned.
Thank you. All right. Well, finance, we're,
Dig into finance.
yeah, we're a little behind, but that's okay because we've got some time. We don't need to do the roll call, correct? Because we already had it. So let's move on to the minutes of the February 7th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting.
This is Olson. I'll make the motion to approve the February 7th, 2023 Finance Committee minutes.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion, corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the February 7th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Audit of the bills is next. Bill Burns, do you have anything to share with us?
Yeah, there's one addition this evening. This is a late 2022 bill that was received for the Bruce Company for the 2022 holiday planter decor. The amount is $8,450, and that is a CDA expense.
If they use that CDA expense? Okay, thank you. All right, any questions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the audit of the bills with the addition of the $8,450 from CDA funds, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to resolutions, we have 4. The first one is resolution 2023-08, declaring intent to assess costs of improvements for Middleton Springs Drive reconstruction. This comes to us from Public Works.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All right, discussion. All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving resolution 2023-08, declaring intent to assess costs of improvements for Middleton Springs Drive reconstruction, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to resolution 2023-10, declaring intent to assess costs of improvements for Pleasant View Road reconstruction. This also comes to us from Public Works.
This is Olson. I'll make the motion to approve.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? I would just note, thank you, Sean, for answering the question I had about the percentage of properties outside the city versus inside. Okay, any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving resolution 2023-10, declaring intent to assess costs for improvements for Pleasant View Road reconstruction, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to resolution 2023-11, approving a budget adjustment for the 2023 tax increment financing district number 3 budget for the downtown plaza project. This comes to us from staff.
This is Olson. I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second that. Discussion. We don't have Abby here. I just wanted to note, so on the 7th, we approved the agreement change with Psyche to cover $16,853 from TID 3. And we delayed the execution until the budget could be amended, which we're doing now. The this resolution amends the budget and increases, oh, there's Abby, increases the request to $28,249 with $19,134 coming from TID 3. Psyche still will only get the $16,853 that we approved last time. Abby, did you want to add anything?
Everything that you stated is correct.
Okay, great. All right, if there's no further discussion or questions for Abby, all those in favor of approving resolution 2023-11, approving a budget adjustment for the 2023 tax increment finance district number 3 budget for the downtown plaza project, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to our last resolution, resolution 2023-12, authorizing the reappropriation of 2022 year-end ARPA carryovers and 2023 adjusted budget amounts.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion to approve.
Okay, and I will second that. Discussion.
I have a quick question. When we approved the budget under the NOAA, there was like 30, we had anticipated like 30 some $1,000 for 2022, and now it's at the full 150. Did they just pay that, or?
Yeah, there was a request that came in prior to the end of the year that was approved to advance the full
full
150,000
amount.
for 2022. When we were putting together the 2023 budget, we had asked departments for an estimate back at the time when we were starting the budget process, August, September, of where they thought they would
Okay,
be
it
with
was that part
spending.
behind, yeah.
This is now updated based on the final actual 2022 spending.
So that has been paid and it's out, it's already been paid, and we've already paid for the 150,000 for this year too. Is that correct? We approved that. It's just a few meetings ago.
I know it's been approved. I would have to double check to see if we've issued the payment at this point.
Okay.
I have a question for you, Bill, and that is, do we now need to add in the $14,262 to the 2023 carryover adjustment so that the
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate. That way we can just update this schedule in the resolution and have that represent the final action, assuming approval of the other item.
Okay. And then on the table on page 12 of the packet, I think it's page 12. So the unallocated amount will go down by 14,262.
Correct.
Okay, so Alder Kuhn, would you like to amend your motion to include the $14,262 for the aquatic center?
Yes, please.
Okay, and I will approve that too.
I have another.
I
comment.
seconded it.
With the rest of the unallocated amount, we had taken some funds away from the Hidden Oaks stormwater property. I would like to see that was unallocated to go towards that project, because it was reduced by 150,000 and moved to stormwater. And I just think that was, we were looking at this as ways to keep ahead of the stormwater without having to burden the utility. So I'd like to see what was unallocated for 2022 put towards that Hidden Oaks stormwater improvements.
Would you like to make a motion?
To make the motion that we, the unallocated amount, the 14,000, I don't have the exact, would cover the cost of the aquatic center set wages, and the remaining balance of unallocated would go towards the Hidden Oaks stormwater improvements.
Is that a motion that we vote on first and then?
Is a substitute motion, it would be, I don't know if it'd be any different than what you changed your motion to, so I don't know if we're on our third motion or not.
So you're amending, she's amending the motion.
So you're further amending Alder Kuhn's motion to approve. You want to, in addition to the $14,262 for the aquatic center, you want the remaining unallocated amount to go to Hidden Oaks, therefore zeroing our unallocated amount.
That the unallocated amount still includes the amounts that we have allocated for 20.
Right.
So we still have $200,000 of it's basically unallocated, but it's earmarked for 2024.
Well, if we take out 14,262, that leaves us with 42,020 or 212 in unallocated, the very bottom.
Of carryover from 2022. That's how I'm reading this.
That's,
Yeah, maybe just a point of clarification, because I have different terms and different.
Yes.
items here. So I have what's listed for 2023 as what was the original approved and then the potentially amended approved. For 2024, column labeled D on this spreadsheet is listed as allocated. That's based on the initial allocation plan, but that hasn't been through a formal budget approval
right.
process yet. And then there's also the number on the bottom of the spreadsheet that is 56,474 that at this point has not been approved or allocated, although tentatively 14,262 is about to be approved. Assuming that the motion would pass.
So if the 40,000
roughly.
that 48,000 went to Hidden Oaks, that would still leave the 201,000 as unallocated for 2024.
It'd be 40.
Yeah, it would
42,000.
not be approved yet.
Not
the
approved,
terminology on
but
here
there'd
is-
still be a balance in the ARPA funds of
Correct.
$200,000.
Yes.
But technically on this, I mean, Bill's chart reflects council's decision so far. And right now it's allocated, it hasn't been appropriated, but there is $201,500 in allocated funds for 2024 showing on this table. So what we're talking about is the very last line in yellow, the unallocated amount. And if we take out the 14,262, that leaves 42,212 to go to the Hidden Oak stormwater improvements.
That's my motion.
Is there a second for that?
Can I'll make a motion for a second for discussion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
My question is for the Hidden Oaks, I see that they have about, how much is that on that line? Is it 195,000?
Yes, and they.
How much do they need for the project that they want? Like, what is the differential?
We took 150 out of it.
Okay.
But they have that money available. It's just coming from our stormwater utility.
Ability.
And in my mind, that's what the stormwater utilities
That's
collecting
where-
money for in the
Well,
first.
there's, if that is true, then why are we leaving any of the money in here for stormwater improvements?
That's a very good question. I didn't propose taking out other stormwater.
What we were
Improvements.
trying to do is to maximize the ARPA funds so that it takes money and frees it up for other projects for the stormwater is what we were trying to do without having an ongoing expense. So that's why we tried to get ahead of the game on some of these, because we knew that there's only limited funds in the stormwater utility for doing some of these major projects. So
at the same time, having this unallocated funds is somewhat the same as having a contingency fund in the ARPA money, which we use tonight. So I don't see where there's a problem because we have until 2024 through 2024 to spend it, right? I don't see a problem with leaving some of that in an unallocated column like this so that we can more easily move it around.
I don't know, when was Hidden Oaks, when they were planning on doing that project, but I thought it came out.
Sean, do you know?
I just think it's the flexibility that it gives us that
I'm
we
here,
might
this
find
is
that
my
we want.
my thing is that stormwater benefits the whole community. It's something, and that's where I'm trying to get the maximum amount of this ARPA is to benefit the whole community.
And I understand that,
Mhm.
but, and totally agree with that, but tonight is a good example of how we use that to benefit the community.
With
and
the pool.
it's something
yeah.
where we found ourselves short. It's like having a contingency, albeit a narrowly defined contingency because it can only be used for ARPA eligible.
Expenses, correct,
Expenses.
correct.
So I guess I'm more comfortable with leaving it.
I am too. Sean, do you know when the project's?
I don't have a solid answer for that. It's a good question. I know Eric Sorensen's working on that, but I think his goal is to get design done this year and probably into construction next year.
Well, if it's not on for next year, that's fine.
All right.
There's no need to put it in right away. There's not a burning.
Okay, so let's call the question of Alder Olson's motion to return or to to approve the carryover amount, adding 14,262 to the amended 2023 column for the Aquatic Center and returning $42,212 to stormwater. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. All right. The motion fails. Now we go back to Alder Kuhn's motion, which was to approve the carryover. I'm sorry, authorize the reappropriation of 2022 year-end ARPA carryovers and 2023 adjusted budget amounts, adding $14,262 to the amended 2023 column for the Aquatic Center. Did I say 14,262? I have too many numbers in front of me. For the Aquatic Center. All those in favor of that mangled motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it.
I'm in favor of getting the raises for the staff, no
Sure.
doubt about it. And this is a good use of that fund. I just am opposed to leaving the balance, is what I'm saying. Of unallocated funds. So
Okay, moving on to agreements and contracts. We have one amendment, number 2, with MSA for design and real estate services for Parmenter Street reconstruction. This comes to us from Public Works. I'll move approval.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll second it.
Thank you. Discussion. I had a question. And Bill, can you bring up the document? So first of all, the line that says amend the following to 3A to read, that doesn't make sense to me. So I would strike the following to, because we are amending section 3A, I believe.
Seems a fair point.
Thank you. And then Larry, this is probably a question for you, because I look at the second sentence of the opening paragraph. This amendment is intended to be consistent with the above agreements with respect only to section 3 term of agreement of the agreement dated December 14th, 2021. Seems to me like it should be consistent with everything in the previous agreement except section 3.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Something was edited out.
I don't know.
I know in a general sense that this application of our template language is a little bit different. Normally, it refers to the amendment itself remaining consistent with the proposal and the previous parent agreement. This is really modifying just the agreement, but not the proposal. But the overall intent is that, and frankly, we could probably find some better language for our template.
Well, I
That
like,
everything in the agreement remains as is, and this needs to work with it. But it modifies just specific pieces of it.
well, I like the wording that you provided as an example in an email message to me when I asked this question. And here's the wording. This amendment is intended to be consistent with all terms of the above referenced agreement and amendment, except specifically as modified herein.
That'd be good. That's our new template language.
Yay.
All right.
Gets a thumbs up from Larry. So I will amend my motion to approve amendment number 2 to agreement with MSA for design and real estate services for Parmenter Street reconstruction with the 2 changes noted, striking the following 2 after amend and substituting the second sentence in the opening paragraph, the one that Sean provided. Bill, I can email that to you, or you're copied on the message. Okay.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. And now we get to move on. Thank you, John. We get to move on to the update on fourth quarter 2022 investment report.
Thank you. There is no action required for this item, just an update, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Included in the packet are the fourth quarter monthly investment reports for each month in the fourth quarter. I did want to highlight this item because of the significant change that we've seen in the rate environment and reflecting how that's going to be reflected on our financial statements. So as I indicated in the memo in the packet, we saw a dramatic increase in short-term interest rates over the course of 2022. In December of 2021, the 90-year Treasury bill was yielding 0.06%. 1 year later, that was at 4.35%. As we've discussed previously, the city has a laddered investment portfolio. So we have various investments with different maturities stretching out up to 5 years. And the thought process there is it gives stability to our yields and our budget, that we don't have the entire portfolio in short-term funds or the entire portfolio in longer term. We have regular maturities, and as investments come up for maturity, we're reinvesting them at the currently available rate. As a result, in declining and very low interest rate environments, we are able to keep our yields higher. So if you recall, a few months ago, I had provided an update of looking backwards over 3 years where our portfolio was compared to where market rates were very low. On the flip side of that, now we're in a very steeply rising interest rate environment. So our yield is lower than current investments, but it's increasing each month as investments are coming up to maturity and being reinvested. The other thing I wanted to note is that although our investment policy and our practice is to hold investments to maturity, as part of our financial statement preparation, we are required under generally accepted accounting principles to reflect the market value of our investments. So our financial statements are going to show the market value of our portfolio as of December 31st, if we had to go to the market and liquidate everything in our portfolio. And again, not surprisingly, with interest rates having gone up and us holding investments at lower interest rates, as yields go up, prices and market value goes down. So we are going to have to book a large negative unrealized loss essentially for that mark-to-market adjustment. That is essentially just a paper or an accounting adjustment. We are not liquidating any of those investments, so we're not incurring any realized losses. As investments come to maturity, we will get the full principal back plus the interest rate on the security or coupon that we receive. And we would expect that in future years that we will see both the benefit of the increased interest yields and as we get closer to the maturity date, that difference between the market value and the original principal amount will come together and match. So we will see that negative adjustment going away in the future as we near maturity. The table in the middle of the memo shows a recap of the last 4 years, the average size of our portfolio, our average yield, and that's the primary metric we look at since we are holding to maturity as we look at our yields. Then I've showed our actual interest earnings, and then this column for the GAAP market adjustment. So we did have a smaller negative adjustment in 2021, a much larger one in 2022 because of the steep rise in interest rates. And I'm anticipating that that's going to be enough that our overall investment income number on our financial statements will be negative for 2022. Again, just unrealized losses, but didn't want anyone to be surprised when we see that in our financial statements. I also included in the packet, and I won't go through it now unless there are questions, but I included an article from Ellers, who's one of the leading financial advisory firms in this region, including Wisconsin, that provides some explanation that this is common in government investment portfolios and something to be expected in a rising interest rate environment.
So, but that's just for accounting, right? I mean,
right. It's an accounting adjustment because we need to report the market value of our investments as of December 31st. We are not selling any investments early. We are continuing to hold to maturity. So we do not have any realized losses from selling investments with a decline in market value.
okay, thank you.
The other thing I wanted to note on the portfolio, looking at the December report, you can see our weighted average yield, which is the red line, has continued to go up. That's at 2.82% as of the end of December. I anticipate that will continue to rise as we have investments maturing and being reinvested. And I just took a look back at January. We had about $8.9 million of new investments we've purchased since the beginning of the year. And the yields on those are between 4.5 to 5.1%. So we're definitely being able to take advantage of the higher yields as the investments mature and are reinvested. The other thing I wanted to point out is that the size of our portfolio is very high right now. At the end of the year, we had about $85 million in the portfolio. It normally increases in December and January because we have tax collection funds that come in, and we're holding those funds and investing them until we settle with the other taxing jurisdictions. And we just did our February settlement on actually just yesterday. So we have been benefiting from being able to hold those funds for a short period of time until settling. The other reason is primarily our TIF districts, and in particular TIF 3. The TIF 3 revenues have been very strong. We've been building up funds for capital projects, and we're anticipating being able to fully cash fund the Pleasant View Road project, which is a great position to be in and not having to borrow for that project. So we will see those cash balances come down as we have expenditures for that project and some of the other larger capital projects. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Bill?
So, Bill, when we are holding this money, do we have to pay that interest to the, the county and the others or not?
No, we do not. That is one of the benefits of us doing the collections. So we get to temporarily invest those funds, and we get to hold all of those interest earnings during our collection period.
Good.
On the flip side, for the second half installment, those are collected by the county. The county gets to hold all of the interest for that until they settle with us in the other jurisdictions.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to remind the members, we're looking at the weighted average yield in December, updated as of December. And I remember back in October that we saw that our investment strategy compared very favorably to the local government investment pool. And it actually earned us $1.2 million more from the fourth quarter of 2019 through the third quarter of 2022 than if we had invested solely in the LGIP. So don't let the weighted average yield curve on this chart throw you. We're much better off with our strategy. So thank you, Bill. All right, well, if there are no other questions or comments or praise for Bill.
Oh, wait, we have 20 minutes, Bill.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
This is,
Go ahead. This is Olson. I'll make the motion to adjourn finance.
this is Alder Kuhn. I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we stand adjourned.
Well, Larry, because he needs to